going on, everybody? Welcome back to another installment of Honest and Uneducated, the show where we talk about anything from movies, movie news, video games, comic books, and all sorts of fun stuff like that. Unfortunately, in regards to the aforementioned comic books and movie news and all that stuff, there hasn't been a whole lot of it this past week. But we did have Wonder Woman 1984 was released simultaneously on HBO Max and in theaters. So we're going to talk about Wonder Woman's performance in the box office, and we're going to give our spoiler review of Wonder Woman 84 here. We're going to do that on the show. We're going to also give, due to the lack of news, we're going to give our most anticipated list of movies coming up in 2021, in addition to what we expect out of Mandalorian Season 3 and the Book of Boba Fett, as those are going to be the first Star Wars shows or content that we're going to be getting in 2021, so we're going to get into that. But joining me today to cover all this stuff is none other than Rik Metz himself. How are you doing today, Rik?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I mean, despite the lack of news and everything, everything's been going pretty good.
Yeah, you have a good Christmas.
Good Christmas, yeah. Yep. Absolutely. It was good. You got new headphones on. I got got a bunch of stuff going.
I got your old headphones.
Yeah, you got the old ones in the studio. So
it's a gift in itself.
That's right. We also got Mr. Jon Knight here. How you doing today, John?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to starting a good online feud with all of our viewers over Wonder Woman 84. Based on what I've been reading, I have a feeling my take is going to differ significantly from other people's. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about it like amongst ourselves, but you told me that if you liked it or didn't like it, and what you told me was different than what I feel of the movie. So yeah, it's going to be we'll have a good
we'll have
a good spoiler conversation for it. So yeah, we'll just jump right into it. But before I forget, guys, don't forget that you can submit topics and questions to the show by emailing us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. But let's get into our first topic here. And our first topic is going to be Wonder Woman 84 and how it's performing at the box office. So it looks like we're looking at a total right now of a big $85 million that Wonder Woman has brought in, which, if you remember last week, we covered the first initial numbers internationally was about 38 million. So it looks like actual worldwide opening weekend hit this past Friday, and it's managed to get up to 85 million. So I don't know, it only added essentially doubled. So it's really still pretty much underperforming for the most part. So again, though, at least is in my opinion, I feel like this is kind of to be expected. Just due to the current climate, if you will. So I don't really know if I in my head I can consider this to be like a huge loss, just because they kind of knew. I feel like this outcome was expected, in all honesty. And I think, as we said last week, their biggest drive was just trying to get HBO subscriptions in because of this. So we'll have to wait and see if that worked out for HBO and Warner Media. And just, I don't know if they're going to release those numbers, but I'm curious to see if the HBO Max views are, substantially higher than what the box office doing. Just because I'm sure there's going to be more people watching on HBO Max, but to what degree, I would love to know that. So I don't know if they're going to release those numbers, but we'll just have to kind of see.
I really hope they do release those numbers, because I mean, I can't imagine why somebody wouldn't, if you have the subscription to HBO Max, why you wouldn't watch it. If you don't care about Wonder Woman and you don't care about comics, I guess you wouldn't. And maybe you have HBO Max for, I don't know, something else. I don't know what else you'd have it for, but so maybe not. But I'd be real interested to see not only how many people that have subscriptions got it, but also how many. What I'm more curious about is how many new subscriptions they've picked up since they made this announcement that it was opening simultaneously with the theaters.
Yeah, that's what, and I don't know if they're going to release that information, but I really hope they do. Because I'm sure. I mean, I could totally see it if it's good. They'll probably release it just so they can have some sort of, I don't know, bragging rights or confirmation, bias on their end. This is why they decided to do it. Like, it worked out.
It's investor relations too. It's a sign. It's a symbol or a sign to their investors that, hey, we're doing things the right way, we're moving things in the right direction without, because they have to wait for their quarterly numbers and stuff to talk about specifics with people. But if they do it as a PR stunt, then that's a way they can talk to their investors without, those quarterly numbers.
Right. And well, not to mention, they took a lot of Warner Brothers themselves, taking a lot of heat about their whole 2021 HBO Max concurrent announcement ever since they made the announcement. And I mean, it looks like Dune, as an example, isn't going to be one of those movies. It looks like they're going to have to end up sticking to a theatrical release with that. And there was a report saying that they were going to end up paying Legendary like $250 million just to allow them to put Kong versus Godzilla on, or Godzilla versus Kong, whichever it is. But they were going to pay them just $250 million just to put on HBO Max and not do it in theaters.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. And honestly, too, this doesn't really have to do with Wonder Woman as much as it does the HBO Max thing. But I feel like Warner Brothers is, I get why they wanted to do the whole HBO Max day and date release stuff. Like, it makes sense. But I feel like, obviously, the way they handled it by not discussing it with all the directors was bad. It was stupid. And because look at all the backlash it's caused them. But I feel like they're completely, I don't know, just missing an easy, just marketing opportunity for just going ahead and releasing the movies in theaters like they normally would. But then all the commercials that come out post theatrical window, instead of saying, coming to, available on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, like on X day, available for digital on X day, just available exclusively on HBO Max on X day. They could just do that for every single one of these movies and still have them released in theaters. They just have built-in marketing for that. Because they control the marketing for the movies. They don't have to, their entire marketing plan for the at-home release of their films could exclusively say HBO Max. They don't have to advertise it's available on Blu-ray, digital, anywhere else. They could just flood the market with commercials saying available exclusively on HBO Max on X day, as opposed to what they decided to do.
I think one of the issues that they might have in there is because of the way those corporations are structured with the home sales, the home, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K division. I mean, they have their own division of home sales. So that division probably has an advertising budget, and they're probably going to fight tooth and nail to not give that over to the streaming side and have the streaming side marketed exclusively, because then it's going to reflect bad on their division if their numbers don't hit what they're hoping to get that way. I agree with you that it would ideally, that would be a way to really bump that the awareness and the importance in the consumer's mind of HBO Max. But these companies are so compartmentalized, and we're seeing it with the way things are being handled, that people just don't talk to each other and they don't work together on things. And so I have a feeling that trying to do something like that would be very difficult, especially in today's climate. Maybe further down the road, if they are able to integrate some of those divisions together and get better discussion among them, maybe that would be something they should look at. But
yeah, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see it, because I know, Rick, this Wonder Woman being released exclusive on HBO Max did not make you go out and subscribe to HBO Max, because you still haven't seen the movie. So
no, and I'm just not a huge Wonder Woman fan. I don't mean to put it down or anything like that, but it's just never been a hero that's appealed to me a lot.
Yeah. So do you think that's more or less why if this was Matrix 4, you think you probably would have subscribed to watch it?
Yeah, for sure. That's something I'm really looking forward to. But to me, it wasn't worth the Wonder Woman. I mean, how much is HBO Max?
It's like $16 a month.
15,
even if you're watching it, you're paying that much to watch Wonder Woman a couple times or whatever, and you could cancel it. So I mean, it's not a bad deal or anything, but it's not something I would go out of my way to.
I mean, it's essentially the price of a movie ticket to get HBO Max, but you get access to everything.
All the other stuff.
It's definitely worth it. And like I said, right now, HBO Max has more and arguably better content than every other streaming platform out there.
Isn't there a lot of content?
Yeah, they have a lot of content, and a lot of it's they have a lot more premium content, we'll say, than a Disney Plus does and a Netflix does.
Well, they'll have a lot more stuff coming to it as well. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. As of right now, HBO Max is probably, despite it underperforming when compared to a Netflix or a Disney Plus, ironically, it's kind of the best bang for your buck
Yeah.
as far as like the content that's on it and what you actually get out of it. I mean, obviously, that's going to vary, from person to person and what their interests are, but just as
You
far
know,
as overall premium content, they got a ton of it.
Yeah.
you know, I sort of agree with that, but I'm a subscriber to the DC Universe app, which has all the DC originals,
Mhm.
and they've moved all those DC originals over to HBO Max. But the other reason I subscribed to the DC Universe was up until now was because they had all the old Batman or DC animated shows on there as well. You could watch things like the Batman animated series from the 90s, Batman Beyond, Superman animated, Justice League animated. And then even further back, you could watch things like the Super Friends, Challenges of Super Friends, things like that.
I remember that.
And I just saw an article yesterday or maybe the day before that said that HBO Max announced that Batman the Animated Series is coming to their platform. And I was actually shocked because I just assumed when they said that they were closing down the streaming side, or at least the movie and TV streaming side of the DC Universe app, I assumed that all that content would be moving over to HBO Max. But apparently that's not the case. Apparently they're kind of picking things here and there to bring over and not everything, which I don't understand why they wouldn't. They already had it all set up to stream. It was streaming on DC Universe.
Mhm.
Why in the world? Because there's things that I was really hoping to one day get around to watching. I hadn't yet, but I like the fact that it was there on the DC Universe app and I could get to it eventually. Things like the old Teen Titans TV show, animated show, and
Right.
that's not going to be available and things like that. So while HBO Max does have pretty good value, that there's some stuff that just inexplicably isn't available on there still.
And I think that's kind of with what you were saying, like with them being like so compartmentalized and I think it goes into that, and then with just how they botched the launch for it because they have the
Yep.
titles that they had like a 1 month window when they first launched where they could even have a lot of DC movies on HBO Max because it was already licensed to be on another platform. So as soon as HBO Max launched, they were pumping out all their marketing like with all the DC movies are here, and it's like then a month later they're like, well,
They
okay,
were gone.
yeah, and then BVS and like Wonder Woman had to be removed from
Yeah.
HBO Max because they had licensing elsewhere. And I think it might be a situation like that with some of it because I wouldn't imagine that you would think everything that was on DC Universe would just move over to HBO Max because they kind of announced that that's what
Exactly.
was going to happen. But yeah, for whatever reason, some things it hasn't made their way over there. It just makes no sense. I don't know. I feel like this is a combination of them rushing this stuff along too much, and it's kind of like classic Warner Brothers and DC, where they're always left trying to play catch up, and they don't take the time to actually do something properly. They just throw everything together in like the quickest and most inefficient way, and just say, "Here it is." We got to catch up with Marvel. Here's Justice League. And, it's just that kind of thing. It's like, and you get just kind of a meh situation in the end, as opposed to, I don't know, what should be a simple thing is just kind of not that it's a simple thing to like launch a streaming service. It's like it's a big project to do, but in this
What
situation with all the DC content already being somewhere, you think it's just okay. Well, now it's here, and they just move on. But I don't know. What are you gonna say, Rick?
No, I was just gonna say I'm interested to hear your opinions and like the differing opinions on what you thought of Wonder Woman.
Well, that's what we're gonna get into. We're
Yeah.
gonna get into that first. So we'll go ahead to
Could we take a quick break before we do that?
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Guys, just let us know what you think about Wonder Woman's box office down in the comment section below. Do you think that, kind of like me, do you think it's kind of to be expected? This, yeah, it's underperforming in some ways, just because, a movie like this, 85 million global right now, when it's been open in international markets for a week now, and then now we had opening weekend in the States, and it's only managed to kind of pull in double what it already pulled in internationally. Yeah, I could definitely see it being, overall looked upon as a failure in a lot of ways, box office wise, but I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like I said, it's just kind of expected. I don't really, I didn't expect Wonder Woman to make $250 million opening weekend when half the theaters around the world aren't even open right now. So I don't know. Let us know what you guys think of this down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So speaking of Wonder Woman, we are now going to get into a spoiler discussion of Wonder Woman 1984. So if you haven't seen the film, mute it, pause it, then just wait till we're done, and you'll see the graphic for Wonder Woman go away at some point. And or maybe I'll wave my hands around or something. We'll be done talking about it. But we're going to get into it here, but first, before we do get into it, we do have one piece of news that came out just a couple hours ago in regards to Wonder Woman 3. So it looks like Warner Brothers has indeed officially moved on and greenlit Wonder Woman 3 with Patty Jenkins. So that is coming out soon, which is good news and bad news for people who didn't like Wonder Woman 84, I guess. But I'd say overall, in the end, like you're gonna find out like my thoughts on it, but I didn't think it lived up to what the potential it had, and wasn't as good as the first Wonder Woman film is. But Patty Jenkins is still a fantastic director, and I look forward to anything that she's attached to. So I'm definitely excited that she's back to do Wonder Woman 3. And I mean, I don't know, she in regards to Patty Jenkins and everything, like she already had this world kind of like built out with Wonder Woman. So I would have been kind of disappointed for her to not return for Wonder Woman 3. It's because she had like this Amazon spin-off and everything, like, you know, in development in some ways as well, that was supposed to come out prior to Wonder Woman 3. But it looks like now Wonder Woman 3 is actually going to be made as soon as she is done with Rogue Squadron, the Star Wars movie that was announced. So I don't know, I'm looking forward to that. What do you think? I know you liked Wonder Woman 84, and we're going to get into that review here in just a minute. But what are your thoughts, John, here about her, Patty Jenkins, returning for Wonder Woman 3 officially?
I'm extremely happy about it. I mean, you've mentioned I really like Wonder Woman 84. I like the first Wonder Woman movie, and they're both, to their benefit and to their detriment, I think, period pieces. But I have to assume that the next one brings her into the modern era and the present day, and it won't be a period piece, and we'll be able to see what kind of story they can come up with, what kind of narrative they can have with something set in modern day, which I think may alleviate some of the issues that people have had with the first two films.
Right. Definitely makes sense to me. Rick, what do you I know you still haven't seen Wonder Woman 84, so what are your thoughts about? Did you like the first Wonder Woman at the very least?
Yeah, I didn't mind that. I mean, again, not like one of my favorite pieces by any means or anything, but it was good. She was good in Justice League, but
She's great in BVS too.
yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where they go with it, but still got to see 84. So
Right. Were you excited? I mean, knowing what was done on Wonder Woman, the first one, are you happy that Patty Jenkins is coming back to finish off the trilogy there?
Well, yeah, I mean, for purposes of it being the same person doing every one of them, it'll still have that same kind of feel, I feel like, with each movie.
Right.
It won't vary too much, but I think, if you had different directors for every movie, I think it could feel different in each movie versus this just being like one straight plane of the Wonder Woman universe, I guess.
Right. Well, you kind of get that when you see her first appearance in BVS. It's a little more similar to how she's portrayed in the first Wonder Woman, as far as how she was portrayed in BVS. But then the Wonder Woman 84 Wonder Woman is very different from, even though it's the same people associated with it, it's very different than the previous Wonder Woman in a lot of ways. So there were a lot of people saying that like Wonder Woman 84 was almost like a soft reboot of Wonder Woman. In a lot of ways, I can kind of see where they're coming from, having seen the film now. So I don't know. In the end, I'm still looking forward to Patty Jenkins returning for the third installment.
I'm excited for Rogue Squadron.
Yeah, I'm more excited for that probably than Wonder Woman 3 when it comes down to it. But either way. But the question is, guys, what do you think about Patty Jenkins returning for Wonder Woman 3 officially, and it being the first? It's still, I guess, at this point, the spinoff is still kind of up in the air here. I'm not sure about what's going on with that, but we'll just have to kind of stick around and wait to hear some more news in regards to it. But in the end, I feel like I'd rather have a Wonder Woman 3 than a Wonder Woman spinoff movie anyway. I mean, I'd definitely take it if we're going to get both, but I feel like finishing off the main part of the franchise is probably more important than doing the spin-off movie, but who knows? That's just my own opinion with it. But whatever you guys think about that, let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So with that down and out of the way, we are now going to be getting into the Wonder Woman 1984 spoiler discussion. So again, if you haven't seen it, come back, mute the video, and come back afterward. Finish off when we're doing the most anticipated 2021 and our Mandalorian 3 discussion and everything. I'll wave my hands around or something to let you know it's done. So we're going to get into it now, though. So I know, Rick, you haven't seen it, so you're just going to kind of have to like sit pretty with me and John give our thoughts on it and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to hear about it. It's going to kind of spoil the movie for me, but it is.
Yeah, but since you said you're not one who's really looking forward to it anyway,
yeah, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
I've never honestly been that bad with spoilers, anyways. Like, that is what it is.
Everyone's different about it. I don't like when like there'll be a lot of like critics or YouTube channels out there in general who'll get like advanced screenings of the movie, and like if the embargo's lifted, they'll post like a spoiler discussion like 3 days before the movies even come out. Like, I don't really support that.
That happened with all the Star Wars movies, I feel like.
Because it's like, in some things, it's just like, yeah, they're not doing anything wrong because like the embargo's lifted, they're allowed to do it, whatever. So all that's fine. But then like now it's just like out there. So there's just like, it just makes it hard for people who are trying to avoid spoilers to actually avoid them when the movie's not even released yet and there's already spoiler reviews out there. So now all these people who haven't even seen the movie can just spread all the information around. So it just makes it hard to avoid. So I don't really agree with spoiler reviews. Anyone who does them and releases them prior to it even being released, I don't really support that. I think that's a bad thing to do.
I get that.
For the community as a whole. But alas, it gets some of the clicks because they're the first ones out there. So I understand why people do it.
Get some of the clicks.
Get some of them clicks. So John, I'm curious to see though, because I already kind of said that I didn't really care for the film, and I'll get into like why, but I want to hear your thoughts as to, what did you like about it? Because I know you overall liked the movie, so I want to hear what you have to say about how it hit you. Explain yourself.
So I mean, I've gone full on, fanboying for this movie. I think I would put it in my top 10 superhero movies of all time. I think I'm pretty confident in being able to say that. This movie is, to me, it's the spiritual successor to the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. And those are movies that I hold very near and very dear to my heart. I mean, I still remember, it's one of my earliest memories, is being maybe 3, maybe 4 years old at a drive-in with my dad and watching Christopher Reeve dive out the window of the Daily Planet and change into Superman and go flying off into the air, and just being amazed that there was this bastion of truth and justice out there that I was able to watch and see do all these amazing things. Him turn into a human drill and drill his way beneath the streets of Metropolis to go get Lex Luthor. I mean, so I'm trying to paint the picture for how much I love those movies and how important they are to me. And I really feel like Wonder Woman 84 is the spiritual successor. I described it that way earlier, and I'm going to stick with that description. But to those movies, it's full of joy and hope, and it doesn't get bogged down in the angst and the darkness that surrounds a lot of superhero movies nowadays. And I'm all for angst and darkness. Bring me, The Dark Knight any day of the week, and I love that movie. But it's a dark movie. It deals with dark themes, and it deals with moral dilemmas, and it deals with whatever. But superheroes are not just a dark medium. They're not just a angst-filled, things are bad, we may overcome sometimes, but even when we do, they can't get better. Superheroes started out in the 30s and 40s with bright, shining examples of what humanity could be, or what we wanted society to be. And it may be hokey and it may be cheesy in this day and age, but I don't think there's anything wrong with having some parts of them reflect those same values and those same ideas that they were born into. And I really feel like Wonder Woman 84 captures a lot of that and brings a lot of that back to the cinema or back to your home screen, depending on where you watched it. I said I almost posted this on another review that I was reading online about it that was talking about how it was a cheesy movie and that all this and that. And I said, I really wanted to post that if the comic book industry and the comic book movies and all these characters that we love that come from comics had been reliant on today's fans to get to the point where they are now, they would have died on the vine. They would have been dead a week after publication, because so much of what we love has its roots in something that we seem to have lost as a fan base. And so anyway, that's my soapbox on kind of where I'm coming from with my thoughts on the movie and why I really think it's a phenomenal film that does something that a lot of movies don't do, and I don't even try to do nowadays.
I'm with you. I definitely, the thing I agree with everything you're saying, as far as the tone and everything, like with the movie, and like it's like, just how it was kind of how everyone was portrayed in the movie was fine, because everyone in the movie did a good job. Like I like, Gal's performance was great, Chris Pine was great, even Kristen Wiig was great as Cheetah, Pedro was good as Max Lord. I liked all of it. The only thing I didn't like about it was just the overall story and everything with it. Like, there was some things didn't make sense, and like Cheetah just was pretty much just there so Wonder Woman could have somebody to fight, like hand-to-hand combat with. Her story arc was like the most generic we've seen in a million times kind of story arc. Just it was like what is it? I don't know. There's like a million movies. There's like a Jim Carrey one I'm thinking off the top of my head where it's just like it's just the classic person who is clumsy and doesn't realize their full potential, and then throughout the film she unlocks her potential, and it's like, wow, like, mind blown kind of thing. But like, what I didn't like about it, this is where we're obviously John kept his little overview pretty spoiler free, but I'm going to discuss some spoilers here. So now would be a time to turn off if you really don't want to avoid, or if you really want to avoid spoilers. So, but the main thing that I didn't like about the movie was like I said, like the overall plot, like the Dreamstone thing was like, that whole concept. I'm sorry.
It was a little clumsy. I think it was a little clumsy.
Yeah, and it's just how they did it all was like, some of it like didn't make sense. Like Steve Trevor, like you have the Dreamstone, and anybody who touches the Dreamstone, it's not like a genie you get 3 wishes. It's just like, no, you can just touch it, and anybody who touches it makes a wish, and that's it. Like, and it comes back, and that's how Steve Trevor's back. That's how all that happens. But it's like a kiss curse kind of thing. So as soon as you make a wish, but then you also lose something, and it's like you don't know what it is like right away, but it does happen. So that's just kind of like what you're set up with. But from the beginning, like, so Diana touches the rock and obviously just wishes for Steve to be back. So that's when Steve comes back a couple scenes later, but he doesn't just come back. Like, he literally, there's just some guy there who all of a sudden now that guy is Steve Trevor. So like
he's brought back. He inhabits the body of a real person that also was around at that same time.
Yeah, and like my problem with that is like, well, one, does this dude have like a family and a job and all this stuff? And it's like, because he's just absent for an entire week essentially. So because as Steve Trevor,
he's off traveling the world with Wonder Woman.
Yeah, so now Steve Trevor's inhabiting this dude's body and like sleeps with Wonder Woman and all this stuff too, but it's not even actually Steve Trevor. It's literally this dude. Like, so everybody in the outside world who sees this dude with Diana, it's the other dude. When we see him through Diana's eyes, it's Chris Pine and Steve Trevor. And I just don't, it didn't make any sense because other people who are making wishes on this dreamstone, like the stuff Pedro does, like Maxwell Lord's character, he makes an entire wall just magically appear, dividing up Egypt. And so it's like, why could Steve Trevor just not come back in his own body? And like, because they don't do anything to further like enforce why that couldn't happen. Like, if anything, the whole movie goes on and contradicts why it should have happened. Like, if all these fantastical things are happening due to people making wishes with this dreamstone, how the hell can like a dead body just not magically reappear? It makes no sense. And then they don't expand upon like this dude who Steve's inhabiting and why it had to be that way. As a like, it just it doesn't make any sense. Like, I didn't like that.
The same thing with Cheetah getting her powers. Minerva, she doesn't when she makes the wish, she doesn't all of a sudden get the powers. They like start emerging over time. She learns how to walk. Heals is the first step of it. But like you just said, when the guy wishes for the wall to divide Egypt, it just springs up out of nowhere. So yeah, the rules of how the stone works and why it works are played fast and loose. They don't establish that there are rules necessarily. And then even if they did, they kind of are like, yeah, but they don't mean anything.
Exactly. And that's the primary thing I didn't like about it, like the movie overall. It's just like the actual story of the movie was executed very sloppily. Most of it didn't make any goddamn sense. And like, just on a practical level, because everything in the movie, like I said, I liked all the performances. I didn't mind everything that was going on. It was kind of slow for the first, like, it's a long movie, and probably for the first hour, nothing really happens. Like, Wonder Woman's not actually Wonder Woman doing anything aside from like the mall montage, which was kind of useless in itself. It was just, let's try to be like Christopher Reeve Superman, essentially. Like, that's really much all that montage was. And it kind of, it sets up the Rock thing, but like that's otherwise useless. Like, really,
it felt very much like, I don't know how many people recall this, because it was one of the less enjoyed, I think, Christopher Reeve Superman movies. But Superman 3 opens with this whole big kind of comedy segment where all these things are happening around Metropolis, and they're kind of central to Clark, and Clark is kind of, he's bumbling around, and sometimes he's bumping into people, sometimes he's causing the accidents, sometimes he's saving people from the accident. But it's this whole opening montage that happens over the course of probably the first 2 or 3 minutes of the film. And once you got into the opening of this film, once you got past the Amazon part that the film opens with, you kind of had it felt like in tone very similar type of deal with this. One of the things that actually really bugged me about it, I love this movie, but there were some things that bugged me about it, was one of the montage scenes is a group of young girls stealing sunglasses from a store. And I thought, oh, Wonder Woman's going to come along and give them the whole, you shouldn't do that, or they're going to be inspired to not do it. No, all that happens is the girls are running to get away from the store, and they accidentally knock a woman over the side of a bridge, and Wonder Woman has to catch her and save her. Mm-hmm. Yet the girls still go away scot-free, which I thought was a weird message.
They got their sunglasses.
They still stole the sunglasses, got away, which I thought was a weird thing to start and not resolve necessarily. So
kind of like with speaking of unresolved, like the actual finale of the movie, come the very end, like. So
what happens to the bad guys?
what happens to like Maxwell Lord, for one, like because he
brings the world to the brink of nuclear war.
Yeah, and that's another thing too with the whole like Dreamstone thing and the inconsistencies. It's like all the different world powers start launching nukes around everywhere, and they just like nukes just come out of thin air, and then when people start renouncing their wishes. That's what you have to do in order to have the kiss curse effect stop. You have to renounce your wish that you made on the Dreamstone.
So never mind.
Yeah, and in doing so, whatever like negative effect you were getting stops happening. So like you got all these nukes flying around in the air, and then people start renouncing the wishes, and the nukes disappear, and it's like, okay,
how convenient.
Yeah, it's convenient, but then it's like, then why couldn't Steve Trevor just come back and be his own man? John, your camera froze, by the way. That's why I took you off screen. So I don't know if there's something you said it.
It's a good shot.
Yeah, you're smiling on this one at the very least. But yeah, so we had that happen, and then so at the very end of the movie, he's going through. Maxwell Lord finds like that's another thing too. The way Maxwell Lord gets the whole world. You're good now. There's like this satellite that has particles in the air, and so he can touch everybody through the particles from the satellite. It's just the stupidest, most contrived BS thing in the world. It's so dumb.
It is. I didn't care at all.
Like, it's so stupid. Like, and this is the things that is like, this is why I overall, as a movie, think it's just poorly executed. Like, I just, it's like everything, like a lot of the stuff that, like, some of the things that you like about the movie, I totally agree with. And, like, as why I would like it, the things I did like about it. But, like,
so it's gonna be one of those movies where I'm not able to like discount what you're saying. I'm not going to be able to say, "Oh no, it makes sense because of this," or "It makes sense." No, it doesn't make any sense at all. But that being said, I think that there's some of the things I was talking about, some of those old school like early comic book things. I mean, you look at comic books from the 50s and 60s, and they're full of Deus Ex Machinas and contrivances, and I don't even know if that's a word, but they just, I mean, they just make shit up, and they make shit up, and it doesn't flow consistently from one story to the next, and that's the reason you have, Superman, as he was originally conceived, couldn't fly, and then all of a sudden he can fly, and so they played very fast and loose with the rules of comic books and superheroes a long time ago, and to some extent they still do today. There's people are constantly retconning things that they don't like or adding things in that they did like, and so from that perspective, maybe because I'm more entrenched in the comic book side of things, I'm not as, I can take a movie like this and just enjoy it. I'll go along with it just for the ride. I will in no way say that this movie holds up as far as, story wise to some of the other movies that or some of the other classic superhero movies. Like, you take a movie like Logan, for example. That movie has a story where everything is plotted down to the T, and it all makes sense, and there's motivations that make sense, and there's rules that happen, and they don't break their rules, and so it's a
good
great
movie, man.
Yeah, such a good movie. And this movie doesn't adhere to that type of filmmaking, but I'm okay with it because it's the one, pun intended, I guess. It's the wonder of everything that's going on that's more important than the why or the how of what's going on, to me at least, for this movie.
Well, that's the thing, like, and like, I don't know, it's just like it being like this soft reboot kind of thing, and so in some ways you kind of get that vibe from it. Just if you see it, because it is so different than Wonder Woman 1 and her appearance in BVS. I mean, just tonally, like you're saying, like in the playing fast and loose with the rules and everything, is very different than her previous, like the same character in BVS and in the first Wonder Woman movie. The first Wonder Woman movie is like really good. It's like top 3 DC movies for sure. And but this one though, I wouldn't have it on that list. It's just it's too sloppy in my opinion. And it's like, and I'm fine with all the campiness and all the, like, I liked all that stuff. Other than like the story plots being like contrived and like not making sense, like overall I liked the, like, I don't know, like the lividity of everything, like the tone of everything I thought was fine. It worked for the character, like in the end, like I think it worked, but it's just the way everything was executed in the movie. It was like lazy. It felt more lazy and sloppy to me than it did kind of like with like what you're getting from it, where you were just kind of able to like roll with it. Like to me, it just didn't work. Like I wasn't able to just roll, like, because there's like the first Mortal Kombat movie is a perfect example because it's a dog shit ass movie, but I love that movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah, and I'll be damned if I ain't gonna watch that movie whenever I come across it on the telly. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's
a fantastic movie. Like,
it's fantastic, but it's so bad.
I mean, but it's a god awful movie. Like, and I think everybody will agree. It's like it's either god awful and you love it, or it's god awful and you hate it. But
it's like so bad it's good almost.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Where it's like I can't attribute this movie with that same mindset. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't enough payoff for me to like go along with the stuff that I just didn't like in it. You know what I mean? Because like I said too, at the end of the movie, like Maxwell Lord just kind of literally causes, nuclear war and all this stuff, and then like at the end he renounces his wish and just like leaves, and like that's it. And it's like, so he's just cool, like there's no is he gonna get any reprimanded in any way, shape, or form for everything that just happened? And then not to mention, literally everybody in the entire planet experienced this crazy day in 1984. We just have to they're just cool with it, like, and it's never been brought, like, Bruce Wayne in this world is literally alive right now, and this is kind of the inherent problem you have with like the connected universe stuff, in all honesty. And I'm totally one who can like remove myself from that, and I don't expect like a big global catastrophe to be happening and just be sitting there wondering like, well, why isn't Batman here to help? Like, I don't have to do that, but like with something like this, literally everybody in the entire planet went through something, and this isn't like a connected universe thing. And you'd think that, like, for instance, in BVS, when Clark and Bruce meet Diana, they would have remembered that day in 1984 when the nuclear war broke out and all this stuff, and Wonder Woman televised herself to the entire world and stopped it all from happening. You'd think they would remember that and not be like, "Is she with you?" You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like, because that's another thing that's kind of lazy in my opinion. Because you'd think that just to avoid any of that kind of stuff, they would make the memory of your wish go away once you renounce the wish. But no, they didn't do. Like, everybody literally just remembers it all, and it all happened. So like in this world,
like as soon
they just remember.
as soon as Max renounced his wish, everything should have been reset back to status quo.
Yeah,
what it was before he had gotten his wish and before he started granting all the other wish. Everything else should have been reset, and that way you're left with people without memories, and it's a much cleaner, much tidier ending. I think one of the things is maybe because this movie was so long. I mean, it's a 2.5 hour film. Maybe they knew it was long, and maybe they
and you
felt
feel
like,
it.
you know what, we're not gonna.
Yeah. I felt it.
I didn't, but maybe again that was me just wrapped up in. I don't know. To me, the message of the movie, the ideas of the movie, were more important than the execution. And I don't know why. I don't know why some movies. I mean, like you said, for you can watch Mortal Kombat and be perfectly happy with it, and other people watch it and think it's terrible.
Right.
I think it's a pretty damn good movie too.
It's a great movie. It's spawned from the 90s too, man. Like,
sure.
2000, like, that's a terrible. I love it though, man.
Oh yeah,
I love watching it.
It's so bad.
It's so bad, but I love watching it. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. So
CGI.
I don't know why it hits some people one way and it hits others the other way. I just know, like, I just saw it last night too. I mean, by the time when we're recording this, it's been out for a couple days already. So I really didn't even spend time today again. I saw it late last night. I came home, went to bed, and I haven't had much time to get into reading reviews and what other people's thoughts are on it. But the few little like Instagram posts I saw that were bashing and whatever were just people like just the dumb fanboy stuff that I just like. Okay, I get it. They didn't have anybody, they didn't have people being murdered left and right, on screen, and they didn't have all the angst and the whatever. I get it, but it's okay. That doesn't have to happen in every movie.
Yeah, and I liked it, like the tone of everything. Like I was on board with like, okay, so this, because when the movie first starts out, before you get introduced to the Dreamstone stuff, like all of the negatives for me happened once the Dreamstone's introduced. Everything leading up to that point, which happens at like the end of the first act, but I mean, in the end, like that first act kind of sets up this kind of like new tone that they're going with, that more Christopher Reeve Superman kind of tone. And like I was on board with all of that as it was unwinding. There is some pretty dodgy CGI throughout the entire movie, like I will say. granted, I didn't see it in theaters, and I don't know if it plays a little bit better in theater, but there's some just sequences where I'm like,
I'll say
it
that.
looks but
Yeah, I agree with that. I think some of the CGI was pretty, but I will say that the cheetah fight sequence looked a lot better than I thought it was going to based off the previews.
yeah,
In the
it did
previews,
look a
I
little
thought
bit
that
better.
I think they did some cleanup on that before since that trailer came out where they showed her for the first
Yeah, I
time.
didn't think even in the trailer, I didn't think it looked very good.
Yeah, it's not like a night and day difference, but it did look a little bit better. But obviously, like there was a reason why they did that whole scene at night because
Oh yeah,
they knew the CG wasn't
and they
on
had
par with what it should be. Like,
camera shots in the water, and yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, they definitely tried to hide it as much as possible, but the overall end outcome wasn't nearly as bad as the trailer portrayed. It's just again like her whole character, unfortunately, was just there just for that fight scene. Like, and that's pretty much it. Just because you can't have Wonder Woman going up and punching Maxwell Lord. He's just a dude. So like, it kind of would have been pretty
On
boring. Like,
a related note, there was a giant DC crossover that happened back in the early to mid 2000s, and it was called Infinite Crisis.
mhm.
And there was a story that led up to that, but as part of the story leading up to that, Wonder Woman actually snaps Maxwell Lord's neck to kill him because he is in the comics. Maxwell Lord has the ability to take over other people's minds and make them do things, and he has taken over Superman's mind, is making Superman do things that are bad. And so Wonder Woman, in order to stop him, she puts her lasso of truth around him and says, "How do I stop you? How do I make you stop?" And of course, the lasso of truth makes Max Lord tell the truth, and he says, "The only way you can stop me is to kill me." And so she understands that truly is the only way she can stop him, and so she does it. She snaps his neck. So at the end of the movie, when she's struggling to get to him, in the back of my head, I'm going, "Oh shit! Are
Oh,
they
he gonna
going
get
to
his
do
neck
that?
snapped.
Are they going to actually go through with this and do this?" Because that's kind of what
Should
I felt
have.
like maybe they were locking or leading up to, but ultimately they don't. They go with a little more hopeful message, which fit more tonally with the movie and where they went with
Yeah,
it. So,
yeah.
but
That's
sorry,
not
yeah, that's
surprising.
just a side. Yeah, that's just a side there, a side note on Maxwell Lord's character.
Yeah, because I mean, otherwise, though, some of the positives. I guess I'll talk about things I did like. I mean, obviously, like I said, the tone and stuff worked for me. Um, she does like teach herself how to fly, so I mean, that was
Yeah,
okay. That was
but yet
okay.
again, it's also kind of vague and undefined, isn't it? 'Cause did she actually fly, or is she just able to propel herself into the sky and then kind of control her falling,
It's
or
kind of
does
what
she
flight
actually
is.
fly?
To me, it looked like she learned to fly. Like,
Yeah,
because I mean
I
that was the vibe I got from it all too. Because like they put in like the Steve Trevor line of like how easy it is to fly. So then they show her up there doing,
sure.
and it was a very similar to Clark learning to fly when he gets the suit in
Yep.
Man of Steel. It was very reminiscent to that. Speaking of which, before I forget, did you notice that during the scene at the end of the movie when she's trying to lasso Max and like it won't once once you see that she does, you don't know as an audience that he has been lassoed, but she's given her speech, and at this point she has lassoed him. Speaking of which, the lasso of truth never made anybody tell the truth in this entire movie. Like, not that it was like it wasn't even used to do that. It was just
Sure.
a magic rope, and
Yeah.
it does some pretty crazy stuff. But like, there are so many points in the movie, like in the beginning of the movie, where I'm like, is this Wonder Woman or Spider Man? Like, the way she is using the rope, she's just literally web
To
slinging
bounce
around,
around
like,
place to place. Yeah.
yeah. But during that scene where she's giving her speech and everything on the end of the movie, they were playing the BBS music. Did you notice that? It's the music that is playing during the opening of BVS where well, not the true opening, but the opening where you're getting the Bruce Wayne flashbacks with Martha dying. The music,
Yeah.
that somber music that is playing over that is what's playing during that scene, which I thought was really weird. Like, it just kinda like because
That is
I was
odd.
sitting there listening to it, and I was like, "Dude, this is that BVS," and it keeps going on. I'm like, "This is totally that BVS music, like 100%." So I thought it was kinda weird because there was no I thought it was gonna mean something. Like, I mean, the music fit the scene, but it didn't lead to anything that would connect it back to Bruce or anything. So
I did not recognize it, so I'm gonna have to go back and
I mean, I might be wrong.
I mean,
I have to listen to it, but if it's not the exact same music, it is like eerily similar. Like it is like exactly enough to make me believe in my head right now that they did just play the same music.
If it's the same music with all the bad stuff that was going on, you almost wonder if one of the wishes that was made is like, I wish a disgruntled employee wished that Thomas and Martha Wayne got their comeuppance and they're dying at the same point that she is saving the world, and maybe that guy just didn't rescind his wish or something. I don't know. It could be something crazy like that. They're trying to tie those, because I mean, if you look at 84 to what 2004 would be 20 years, so Bruce would be. It still makes. I don't think Bruce is quite old enough for that to be happening.
Well, it's also the same. They play that music in BVS another time when Batman's about to kill Clark with the spear, and then Lois runs in. Like that music's playing during that scene too, if I'm remembering correctly too. And there's like a choir thing on the background in the background over top of it. It's just like really slow, like piano music, and then you hear like like angelic vocals in the background. I don't know. It was just weird that they just chose to use that existing music for that scene, and I don't know. Something that stood out to me. But then also we did get the invisible jet, which I thought was kind of cool, I guess, in some ways. But I was fine with it, but I was like, it kind of came out of nowhere, and it kind of goes more along with the soft reboot thing, because it's like Wonder Woman is just doing stuff in a lot of ways that we had never seen her really do, like the Spider-Man web slinging with the rope. Not to that extent was ever done, and then all of a sudden now she's like making a little Kamehameha wave in her hands to make her plane invisible.
Yeah, so there's things in the comic books that explain like why her jet's invisible. I mean, there at one point in the comics, her jet is actually just an Amazonian artifact that can take any shape that she needs it to. And so, and at some point, and sometimes they just don't explain why she has an invisible jet. Sometimes it's just there. And so I'm guessing they felt like they had to decide or had to explain why it existed. And so I didn't mind the explanation for it, but you're right. They just kind of give her a new power. I mean, it would be a very useful power. I'm surprised she didn't use it on something else or use it another way.
You'd think that something like that she would have been practicing more, because she says to Steve, like, I've only ever been able to do this with a cup. It's like, you're not practicing this? Like, you can literally make things invisible? Like, that's pretty useful. Like, you should probably try a little bit harder to master that power. Like, it's pretty useful. Let's talk about, unless you have anything else, we can wrap up with the post-credit scene. Because, honestly, I thought it was like as fun for people who are fans as it was. I thought it was the most pointless thing.
What happened?
Ever. Like, it was literally like literal pure fan service in like the worst kind of way, because it literally leaves it doesn't set anything up, and it could never be referenced again, and it'd be fine. And
it wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter at all. But it's just, you see, it cuts to for anyone who hasn't seen it, like Rick here, I'm gonna give a little play-by-play. It just, scene opens up, you see someone in a very similar garb.
Hold on. Let's go back just a quick, and let's set up the whole thing, because throughout the movie you're told this story of this.
Oh yeah.
Well, do you think that? Okay.
Yeah,
well, go ahead. I'll let you do it.
Okay. But you see just someone who's wearing like a blue cloak with black hair. You think it's Wonder Woman at first. In all honesty, that's what you're led to believe, because you just see the back of her, then like a telephone pole drops, and they just put their arm up and catch it. Saves somebody from getting hit by it, whatever. Then someone runs over and is like, "Oh my God, I just want to thank you. You saved my life or my kid's life, whatever it was." And they turn around and it's Linda Carter. And then like she's just like has some stupid dialogue or whatever. But then she ends up saying that, she's Asteria. And in the earlier parts of the movie, like John was saying, in that golden armor that Wonder Woman's wearing, and like this shot here and like this armor here, you're told that an ancient Amazonian warrior named Asteria wore this armor, who Wonder Woman now had in her possession, and like in 1984 present day has it, and like she shows it to Steve because it's in her closet essentially, and she says like, yeah, the last ancient, greatest Amazonian warrior Asteria wore this armor and saved the Amazons and allowed them to retreat into Themyscira during the ancient war of man, between the ancient war of men and the Amazons, right? So like that's the only real setup you get for the Asteria character is just like that was her armor, which that whole thing actually didn't make a whole lot of sense because if she like sacrificed herself wearing the armor, how does Wonder Woman have it, and why is it in pristine condition?
True.
You know what I mean? Because you'd think it would have been in pretty rough shape after the scene we saw of the flashback. It was really an army of dudes wailing on her in the armor. Imagine it would have been unrecoverable, but
Maybe it's like Beskar.
No, it's not, because Cheetah destroys it.
Oh.
Like it doesn't hold up at all. Like Cheetah was literally able to just rip it to shreds without really any effort. But anyway, so that's what you get is like she turns around, she mentions that her name is Asteria, and then that's it. And it's like, okay. What purpose is that going to serve at all? Like, because it just doesn't. I don't know. It's just dumb because like they never have to go back to that. Like Asteria wasn't like set up to like come in and be like some grand savior. Like, so
I appreciate them finding a way to bring Linda Carter into the movie because
I mean I'm fine with it.
I love Linda Carter. I mean Linda Carter was I watched the Wonder Woman show from the 70s when I was a kid when it was in syndication. When Linda Carter, for all intents and purposes, seems like she's a wonderful woman. I'm glad that they found, again, pun intended, I guess. But so I'm glad that you're right. It doesn't serve any other purpose other than to just have, I mean, they could have literally just had a post-credit sequence where Linda Carter pops up and Patty Jenkins says, Linda Carter, thank you for being the original Wonder Woman. Yeah. And that would have had as much impact on it as anything else. So I mean it's a fun, I guess, little silly way for them to acknowledge her and her contributions to the character, but it doesn't serve a purpose.
Yeah, that's the only thing I don't know. I thought there was gonna be more than just that for a post-credit scene, because that's like you give the cheesy one, but then you have one that actually is like meaningful typically to set up the next thing. But this was just like,
but that all goes back to, if in order to do a post-credit scene that leads to something else, you have to know what you're going to do after this, and that just goes back to the fact that DC has no clue what they're doing right now. They're kind of just fast and loose. So, okay, we'll do this. Okay, Joker worked. Let's do something else like Joker. Oh, Wonder Woman's. I mean, I'm guessing because the sequel's been greenlit. They're saying it's doing well enough, and they're okay. Let's do another Wonder Woman. I mean, without knowing where you're going, it's hard to do anything that has any kind of meaning behind it.
Right. I'm with you. But I mean, overall, like, I'm like pretty much 50-50 split on the movie, because there are things I liked in it, but the other part of me was very disappointed with it and did not think it was anywhere near as good as the first Wonder Woman movie. Like,
yeah, and there's also, this is the kind of movie, like, again, I said the Christopher Reeve stuff. This is the kind of movie that I'd be happy to take my kid to. I feel like this is, I felt like I can go along with the narrative inconsistencies enough, or at least let them slide off me enough that I can enjoy the movie. They don't pull me out of it that much. But I also feel like it's a fun movie that, you could take a kid to see, and it's not going to be as traumatizing as some of the other. Like I wouldn't take a kid to go see Logan, but I'd take him to see that. Logan was rated R. I'm trying to think of a more like intense PG-13 movie, like The Dark Knight, I guess. I wouldn't take him to see The Dark Knight. A younger kid, I guess.
A little more heavy-handed, right? It's definitely a lot more lighthearted. And I mean, since they play it so fast and loose, it's kind of like perfect for a kid, because they're just, I don't know, at the same time, like the fact that like Wonder Woman's barely in the movie, despite it being a Wonder Woman movie. So I could see a lot of kids being really bored. Like,
and even when she is in the movie, she's depowered. She's fighting this, these issues she's having with her powers. So
Yeah. I don't know. I'm very torn on it. Overall, if I had to score it, I would probably make it less than 50%. Like, because I mean, to give it like a negative rating, if I was like a Rotten Tomatoes certified critic, it probably would not be certified fresh from me because like I just didn't care for it. And I would just have to be honest. Like, it's not something that I'm ever gonna watch again. Like, and like that being said, I never watched Aquaman for a second time either. And like, I
See,
liked that movie, but don't care for it at the same
No, I
time.
did
But
not care for
overall, I thought it was a good movie. Whereas this, on the other hand, overall, I think is a bad movie. So I wouldn't watch it again. You know what I mean? And it's kind of confusing. But overall, liked Aquaman. Don't have a need to watch it. Overall, did not like this, so I'm not gonna watch it again. Like,
I'm sure
Yeah.
I'll watch it another 1 or 2 times before it goes away from HBO Max until they inevitably bring it back. But
yeah.
but yeah, I would give it. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I'd give it an A rating depending on how you're scoring stuff. But again, I do understand why people have issues. I do understand some people. I understand your issues with the narrative not making total sense and them not establishing the rules of the universe and not adhering to those rules.
Mhm.
Which that can cause issues and take you out of a movie. I completely understand that critique of it.
Yeah, because I mean, I try to whenever I rank any kind of movie or trying to like judge any kind of movie, I try to be as like I don't know unbiased as possible and try to just because I'm a huge DC fan, so I'm going to be very partial to a DC movie. Then and very like I love Star Wars, so I'm gonna go watch those movies and I'm gonna be I mean, it's very easy to become biased to the properties that you just inherently love. So a lot of times I try to just judge a movie on like basic concepts, like how did they execute the plot? Was there a simple, like a coherent narrative to follow? Did the CGI
Mhm.
look good? Was the story good? Like, well, that kind of stuff. The acting, like I said, all the performances in the film are fine. They did the best they could. I just don't think the script was very good, and what they did with the script, I don't think was executed very well. Like, it's very spotty CGI from the very start. I mean, the first opening sequence on Themyscira was kind of the best thing of the entire movie, which isn't really saying much because it wasn't really mind-boggling either. Like, but like I feel like that was kind of like the best overall stuff we got, and as far as visually was probably the stuff we got in the first act. Like, and then, like, but even then, there was this very spotty CG throughout the thing. Like, I don't know, it's felt like it was just like a movie that they didn't even know what they really wanted to do with it, and just kind of just started throwing things in it just for the sake of throwing things in it, and just doing. I don't know. I can't really explain how it is. I just know that it didn't work for me. I don't hate the movie, but and I would still recommend people watch it because like you said, there are people out there like the early critic reviews for it were outstanding. Like everyone
Mhm.
was giving it great reviews like a month ago when the first wave of critic reviews came out. But like now that more people have seen it, like you're saying, you're seeing a lot of people, trashing the film and not liking the film, and it's starting to come out a lot more. But I'm just kind of disappointed because it definitely wasn't as good as the first one, and like the first one was just like a really good, to solid movie outside of Wonder Woman. Just the overall story they told was really good, in my opinion. And then with this, it was just a complete opposite. Like, wasn't really a good Wonder Woman movie for me. Wasn't really a good movie in general for me. It just felt really
Yeah.
sloppy and like meh. Like, I
Well,
don't know.
that goes back to I'm kind of curious what they're going to do with the next one because I
Mhm.
think that the tonally they couldn't do what they did with this movie set in the modern age. I don't think the hopeful tone of this movie um, would have played the same had it been set in the present day. So I'm curious how they're going to modernize those ideas and those things to bring it forward. I think the 80s, I mean, there's a lot of people too that there's a lot of people that just miss the 80s, or there are people that were young in the 80s and don't remember them that well. And I think the 80s were a goofy time. I mean, they were just a real goofy time, but I think you could play kind of off of that I don't know. The world seems much more serious now than it did in the 80s.
Right.
And so I think tonally setting it there made perfect sense to do that. But this is a long way of just me getting to. I'm really curious to see what they do with the character, what kind of tone they bring to the third one, and how if it plays better. I'm also curious how quickly they're going to make them try and get it made, because as you saw with this one, and as you pointed out, narratively they obviously need some more time to kind of shore up their story structure a little bit and make things not so kind of fly by your pants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little bit, and which is interesting because this was a writing credit wise, it was both Jeff Johns and Patty who
Yep.
literally wrote the script. So that's another reason I was kind of disappointed with it being such a sloppy story, because it's like you had Patty and Jeff Johns. Like you'd think that this would have been a little bit more coherent, but I don't know. Like, not that it's confusing. It's just that it genuinely doesn't make sense. And like you said, they didn't establish the rules to it. So things happen for some people, but then for whatever reason doesn't or can't or just won't happen for other people. But it's like you're seeing this. There's just too many inconsistencies with it. You know what I mean? It's not like they set up rules and broke them. It's that they didn't set up rules, and the things they were showing you just start to not make sense as you see all the just hodgepodge of things that are being done, you know? So I don't know. I'm still excited for Wonder Woman 3 though. So Rik, after hearing us kind of me not like it and John like it, where are you at with wanting to see the movie at this point?
Not very high up on the scale.
No?
No, I mean, for entertainment purposes, maybe, but it's not something I think I go out of my way to go watch.
Yeah, I can't blame
for
Wonder Woman.
Gal Gadot, Patty Jenkins. I'm sorry, I tried. Yeah. Obviously, I failed miserably. Don't point to me in this video as a way to get people.
Well, that's just thing. Like I said, I liked everybody in it. So I like Patty Jenkins. So I'm still looking forward to seeing what she does with the next installment. And she has kind of said before, the next one would bring her into modern day. So like you said, I'm definitely curious how and what they're gonna do tonally with the movie in general, coming off of this movie. So we'll just have to wait and see. But the question is, guys, what did you think about Wonder Woman 1984? Do you more agree with me and that just the overall narrative and everything was just kind of too sloppy, didn't hold your attention enough, and you just didn't think it was executed enough to give it a certified fresh rating, if you will? Like myself, I probably would. I definitely rank this of the DC movies, not up there on the list. But John, he said it could be one of his best movies, best comic book movies he's ever seen. Like, he really enjoyed it. So there's gonna be, that's the subjectivity of film right there. So I mean, you like it, love it, hate it, whatever you think, let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So now with the Wonder Woman review down and out of the way, and like I said, with the lack of news this week, we are going to use this opportunity to discuss our most anticipated movies of 2021. Now, I'm going to get
Hey, Rob.
Yeah, what's up, John?
Sorry to interrupt.
You good?
You might want to wave your hands for the folks at home that were.
Oh yeah,
we're waiting for the spoilers to be over.
That's a good point. We're done. If you were to pause here, this is when you unpause. Waving hands again. Thanks for reminding me. People would have been muted for another hour probably, or just went on to another video at some point. But either way, let's get this list started. So first off, I'm going to give my top five. Then I'll get the top five list from Rik, and John, and then I have just honorable mentions of just pretty much all the movies I'm looking forward to in 2021. But first off, my number one most anticipated of 2021 is Dune.
Good choice.
Directed by Denis Villeneuve himself. All the backlash, obviously, from the Warner Brothers announcement saying this is going to go on HBO Max. If anything, is probably given Dune a lot more attention to people who have no idea what the hell Dune is. So it looks like they're going to be forced to release this one in theaters and on HBO Max, which in some ways kind of disappoints me, because I was actually looking forward to just watching on HBO Max, because I'm not one to really go out in the midst of this pandemic right now and go to the theaters. It's not really the first thing I try to do. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to see where we're at when this movie comes out and see if I can actually go see it or if I got to wait. So my number two is actually Suicide Squad, with James Gunn attached to it. Made me a lot more hype for the first one. I didn't hate the first Suicide Squad movie, but it wasn't Kind of like Wonder Woman 84, like it wasn't really just executed very well. There were things they could have done a lot better. I think I like Suicide Squad a little bit more in that movie, but I don't really care for Suicide Squad either. It's another one of those where I've watched it one time and I think that's enough. So, but with James Gunn coming back to direct this one, I'm very excited for it. So I can't wait to see that. My number three is actually Venom 2. Not because Venom number 1 was the best movie in the world, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
True.
They're introducing Carnage in this one. I love Venom. I love Carnage. I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man is my favorite Marvel character. And by virtue of that, I extend that likeness to a lot of his rogues gallery and everything. So I love Venom. I love Carnage. Very excited to see what they do in that movie. So Venom 2 is my number 3 pick. Then my number 4 pick is Spider-Man 3, mainly because of all this, this multiverse news that's been coming. Like this wouldn't have been like my number 4 or 5 or whatever without all the confusion around what the hell's going on in this movie. So that has mainly, like, once the trailer comes out for this, it might, and we actually have a better understanding of what's even going on in this movie, I might not be looking forward to it as much. I don't know. There's some other movies, like the next one that I'm going to mention for my number 5 pick. The same kind of concept could happen. But with that being said, we'll get into my number 5. My number 5 is actually Matrix 4. That being said, I have no idea what they're going to do with this movie. So once I have some more information about this, I might not be looking forward to this at all. But as it stands right now, The Matrix is one of my all-time favorite movie franchises. Despite the second and third one not living up to the greatness of the first one, I still got enjoyment out of those movies, and just kind of like Spawn and Mortal Kombat. I love Matrix Reloaded personally. I think it's a great movie. Is it as good as the first Matrix movie? No, but I love the franchise. So those are my top 5. Just go over it again. My top 5 most anticipated 2021 is Dune. Number 2 is Suicide Squad. Number 3 is Venom. Number 4, Spider-Man 3. And number 5 is Matrix 4. So, guys, with those top 5s, what do you think of my top 5 list? Any of those on your guys' list?
Pretty much all of those are on my list.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that literally your top 5 as well?
I was gonna say that. Gosh, I forget the other ones we were looking at, but those are definitely up there. Venom 2 in specific. I love Venom 1. I like Venom. I like Carnage. Be interesting to see what Woody Harrelson does with the character. But like you said with the Matrix, I don't really know what's going to happen. It's more or less just like, ooh, another Matrix movie,
Yeah.
And to me, it's just like, sounds good. Like, I'm sure it'll be at least somewhat cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, man.
But Dune, I think, will be interesting. Is it Timothy Chalamet?
Yep, Timothy Chalamet.
He's a good actor.
He's great, dude.
Yeah, so he can do it all. I saw him on Saturday Night Live, and he was great.
Yeah.
But so I think that's cool. It's very sci-fi and like off-world, and just it seems like it'll be good, and visually, I'm sure it'll be stunning. So
for sure, the director is what got me most hype about that movie. Like, yeah. I liked the original Dune. I've never read the books, and I like the original one from the 70s or 80s, whenever it was.
Yeah, I think it's the 80s.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I know that movie didn't do the books justice, just based on everything I've heard. So knowing that Denis Villeneuve was like a huge fan of the Dune material in general, and is making a more accurate depiction, especially just with now, is like what we're able to do, with CGI and all that kind of stuff. Like, I have a lot of faith in Denis Villeneuve. So like, he hasn't made a bad movie yet. I don't expect him to make a bad one with a franchise that he holds very near and dear to his heart. So
I think Suicide Squad will be good. I'm kind of saying this. I never even saw the first one, but I like James Gunn, and from what is it, the sizzle reel or whatever we saw. That it just looks entertaining, colorful, crazy.
Yeah, it looks great, dude.
My kind of movie.
I'm very excited for it. John, how's your list stack up compared to mine?
We actually only had one that crossed over, although we do have. I cheated a little bit. I gave myself some honorable mention spots.
I got a whole list of honorable mentions too. So.
Okay.
For
well,
sure.
my top 5, and these are, I believe, in order. my most anticipated one is Black Widow. I've been
Black
looking
Widow.
forward to that movie. The pandemic, first world problems here, but the pandemic is keeping that movie off the screens for a year was one of the
100%.
most, one of the things. And that's not to take away from all the hardships other people have endured. And obviously, I'm sympathetic and understand that the pandemic has been a lot worse than just a movie being delayed. But that being said, I was really looking forward to that movie, especially seeing what had happened with Natasha in game, and this being them backtracking or going back in time to previous events, how they were going to weave that narrative into the overall MCU. And plus, it's the first movie to kick off the next phase of the MCU, which is, we saw how in my opinion, how masterfully they executed the first 10 years of that film franchise. So I'm really curious to see how this one opens the door to the next decade and how they play it. So that's definitely number one in my book. Number two is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I'm a martial arts junkie. You put martial arts in something, you have a better than not chance that I'm going to go see it. So for the MCU to put their hands into that world and bring a character from that world into the MCU, I'm super excited about. And the cast looks amazing for that. I have a feeling that it's going to be very well done.
Yeah.
Then the next one is simply the intrigue right now of it, and all the casting news is the one that you mentioned, Spider-Man 3. That's number 3 on my list, just simply because I don't have any clue what they're doing. I don't understand where they're going with it. I'm so intrigued to find out how they pull that off. We could get the first trailer though, and I could go, well, that doesn't look good at all, and it could drop off the list. But right now, it's
100%.
firmly in at number 3. The next one for me is No Time to Die. Daniel Craig's last hurrah, supposedly, as James Bond. He's all of his James Bond's movies up until now have been immensely entertaining for me, and even I'm going to forget the name of the second one. That's going to drive me nuts. Anyway, even the second one, which I didn't care for as much,
Quantum of Solace.
Quantum of Solace. Thank you. I still felt like it was an entertaining movie, and I like the James Bond franchise, so it'll be interesting to see them wrap up this chapter of those movies. And then finally, my 5th movie is Uncharted. I'm a little disappointed that Nathan Fillion is not playing the role of Nathan Drake, but Tom Holland has done a good job with Spider-Man.
He does in the end look the part too.
He does.
Like in the end, he looks like a young Nathan Drake, not a young Nathan Fillion.
Yeah,
right.
I love those movies so much, those games so much, that I'm hoping they do the movie justice, and that's it.
All right, so we'll recap your list then. So you got, what do we got here? We got Black Widow is your number 1. Then we got old Shang-Chi is your number 2.
Shang-Chi.
We got Spider-Man 3 is your number 3, and then number 4 is No Time to Die, along with your number 5 of Uncharted. So that's a good list. Yeah.
Solid list.
So surprisingly, here's the thing though too. Surprising, it's kind of, I guess, unsurprising that we didn't have any of them matching, but at the same time, so many movies like Black Widow, for instance, and No Time to Die were supposed to come out this year. So 2021 is even more of a stacked year than it was even going to be. So, I mean, that being said, here's just the honorable mentions. And Rick, you might see some of these and some might pop out to you a little bit more as well. Because there's some on here that I'm equally looking forward to kind of all these movies in 2021, because this isn't like every movie in 2021, but it's definitely the ones I'm most looking forward to for sure. So Eternals, very curious to see what's going on with that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm honestly, I know it's been like delayed because I think this was also one that was supposed to come out this year in 2020, but we haven't had any footage from it. Like not a single thing. Like not even a costume reveal.
Yeah,
There's been nothing. So
shrouded in secrecy.
it really is. All we gotten was a Kumail Nanjiani body reveal. That's all we got.
He's looking jacked.
Yeah.
He's looking jacked.
But so if that's not enough to make you intrigued, I don't know. So I mean, definitely Eternal is something I'm looking forward to seeing. Then Mission Impossible 7.
That'll be cool.
Because these movies, kind of like what you were saying with Daniel Craig's James Bond movies, it almost a better extent though is like I've never been disappointed by one of these movies. Man, these things get better as Tom
Pretty
Cruise
much
gets
the
older.
American James Bond almost in a way. Not really, but I mean action wise.
It's very similar in concept.
I mean, if they find a way to transition a different actor into that series, it could definitely be the American
Mission Impossible 14.
James Bond.
Yeah, if they continue on after Tom's done with them and something, because I'm sure they will at some point. Because I mean, why would you not? You know, in 20 years when Tom's obviously done doing it, like Hollywood sees a lot more value in rebooting an existing franchise and trying to come up with a new one. So if it works, they'll definitely do it later on.
Yeah.
And obviously here we talked about the original, but definitely looking forward to this Mortal Kombat movie.
I think that'll be cool.
But again, I have hesitations for this because it's a first-time writer who penned the script, and it's a first-time director who directed the movie. So I'm worrisome in that regard. But I mean, everyone has to have their first time doing something. So I mean, I'm good with that.
Think of the resources they have though now, like compared to the first one that came out. You know, like visually and.
Dude, just because that's implying that every movie that comes out today should be good. And that we know that's not the case. Like, there's tons of resources available to everybody. It's all about the execution. True. I mean, look at Wonder Woman 84. Like, in my opinion, not executed well at all, but they had all the money and all the resources and a good first movie to build off of. And like, I don't know, doesn't always work out. So I probably have the most hesitation for this one, but also I'm the most optimistic because I mean, Mortal Kombat's great. Like, I've been waiting years for them to actually do like a good legit Mortal Kombat, and like they say that they're gonna have like fatalities and all this stuff in it, and just like cool, man. Like I'm on board with it. Just make it good. Like I'm definitely excited to see where that goes. But hey, like I said, once we get the first trailer for it, I might be completely turned off about it. But the idea of it, just like Matrix 4, it's up there for me.
Yeah.
Also, Morbius. That first trailer kind of like blew me away with it. I was not expecting to really care at all in a lot of ways about it. Like, I love Jared Leto. I think he's a great actor. I was really excited to see what he was going to be doing as a Joker, and I think they really butchered what his Joker could have been. And that first trailer, kind of along the lines with the Spider-Man 3, I'm like, just the reveals that we got in the trailer really piqued my interest with the Spider-Man mural on the wall in the alleyway, and then Michael Keaton's Vulture character appearing at the end and the prison costume he was in at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming. So just the idea that this movie is somehow connected to the MCU Spider-Man stuff in some way, however loosely or however, that's got me very intrigued. But I mean, other than that, like, the actual Morbius stuff we saw in the trailer, I thought looked pretty good. Like, it did give me some like old school superhero movie vibes, like Blade kind of movie vibes.
Yeah,
in some ways.
I can see that.
But the first two Blade movies are really good, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. But so I'm looking forward to that. Then obviously we got Godzilla versus Kong. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
so
it'll be entertaining
in some ways. Even though I didn't care for Godzilla King of the Monsters, I thought that was kind of, I don't know, just a poor execution, really.
Just a generic action.
It was very generic.
Monsters,
yeah, it was very generic, and I feel like they tried to do a little bit too much in it, and it just made it kind of like incoherent in a lot of ways. I don't know, like disappointing, but I still like big monsters hitting things, so I'm gonna watch the movie no matter what.
That's how I feel.
And then that's it, because we're gonna get into some other stuff here. So that was the Boba Fett stuff we're gonna talk about next. So that's movie wise, 2021. That's the most anticipated. Is there anything that I missed on here that you guys are like looking forward to as far as the movies go?
As far as movies,
no.
Yeah, as far as movies, my honorable mentions included one that was on your list, Suicide Squad. I am looking forward to that, just because James Gunn has done such a good job with the Guardians films and other
Mhm.
Yeah,
movies that he's done.
100%.
I feel like that movie's got to be good. It'll be more surprising if it's not good than if it is good. And one that we haven't talked about, and I don't think is on anybody's radar. But Tomb Raider 2. I thought the first Tomb Raider movie, it's Alicia Vanderhorst. Is
Alicia
that the
Vikander.
actor? Vikander. I thought that first movie the first Tomb Raider that she did, I had no expectations for that. I mean, I was coming in from having seen the Angelina Jolie ones back in the movie, and just kind of a so Tomb Raider fan. I've enjoyed some of the games, some of them I haven't. And I thought that first movie was just so good. It was so fun, so much action, and it was a smart script. It wasn't real cheesy one-liners and stuff, and even the ones that were in there hit right. I hoped that they would make a second one, but there was no news about that for a long time. And to hear that they are making a second one, that's coming out this year, that jumps right into my honorable mentions.
Yeah, for sure. The first one was good. So yeah, I definitely am. Like, I didn't even realize one was coming out in 2021. There's so much, like I said, there's so much stuff coming out. I'm sure we probably missed something, but at least the ones that first like jumped out at me when I was looking through the list, like those 10 or 15, whatever we got there, those are definitely the most anticipated for sure. And at least for me in a lot of ways. So obviously I went through my top 5. John went through his top 5. Rick says that he has a pretty much identical top 5. So that
Pretty much, yeah.
is, yeah. I mean, like I said, there's so much stuff coming out in 2021. Like you could almost like stick your hand in there and pull 5 out, and like you'll probably want to see them. Like most of the ones that are, I don't know. I'm definitely curious of where a lot of these movies are going to land release date wise, because I think some of them are still pending release dates and they still have to like shift a bunch of things around. So I don't know. We could have a good couple of months where we get to see a handful of these, anticipated ones within the same week of each other. So that'll be pretty cool. And like I said, hell, so some of these being Warner Brothers movies like Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat and Matrix 4, those are all supposedly going straight to HBO Max. They might not even have to go out anywhere to actually see them. So,
then I'll get HBO.
Yeah, I was going to say, but then you'll probably get HBO Max once that stuff happens.
True.
So for sure.
Worth it.
Yep. So you guys got anything else you want to add about on the most anticipated list?
No,
that was.
We covered mine.
All right, good deal. The question is, guys, what did you think about our lists of most anticipated, our top 5s, and then our honorable mentions of just the most anticipated in general for the entire year? Let us know what you think down in the comment section below, and then let us know what your top 5 is, or if you got a top 10, let us know what that is. Just drop it down there in the comment section below. All right, guys. So to wrap up the show today, similarly to our most anticipated 2021 movie list that we just did, we're going to just kind of speculate what we think is going to happen and what we want to see out of both the Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett series that's coming out in December of 2021, and Mando Season 3, which is supposed to... they've kind of mixed things have been said. Someone said, I think I heard that it's going to come out like during the airing of Boba Fett or shortly after. I don't think it's been confirmed when it's going to come out, but we know it's going to come out around the same time as Boba Fett, so we're just going with that. And with Mandalorian just having had a season finale I think it was 2 weeks ago at this point, we're just still kind of reeling from it. So we want to just talk a little bit more about it. We're going to discuss where we think it's going to end up. And then obviously a lot of questions after the whole Boba Fett thing. So we're going to kind of break down what we think is going to come up with that. So let's just get right into it here. We'll start with the Book of Boba Fett. So they kept this a surprise from the whole Disney reveal thing. They withheld this one and left it on for the post-credit scene on the season finale of Mando. So we know it looks like it's just being set up to be kind of like some maybe more underworld stuff,
like
right?
a crime boss kind of thing, or...
But my question is, where do you think they can really go with that idea, though?
Because Boba Fett's changed. He's a changed man. Like, he's got, like, a code of honor now, and, like...
Seemingly.
Yeah, I mean, like, compared to how he was back in Empire and Jedi and all that, or even, like, in Clone Wars, It's hard to say, but it'll be interesting just to see more of that Star Wars universe, even outside of like the Mandalorian.
Well, they said too that, and I kind of called this in some way. I said that Robert Rodriguez came in and actually directed the Boba Fett episode,
Which was great.
the one, the one where he actually like whoops ass and stuff with the gaffy stick. And I said like back then, like I wouldn't be surprised if Robert Rodriguez is attached to just direct the Boba Fett series if they go through with
Make
it.
it pretty brutal.
And he's supposedly not directing it, but he is on as a producer for that season, this Boba Fett series in particular. So that could lead to him doing, maybe he directs the first episode,
Yeah.
and then just kind of sets the tone for everything. Maybe I can see that being a thing. But I'm actually just curious in general as to like where they're gonna take the show. Like, cause I'm actually kind of like drawing a blank on like
I kind of am too.
where they leave it off, because he goes in, kills
Bib Fortuna.
Bib Fortuna, who was presumably took over after Jabba was killed, since at the end of Jedi. So
Wasn't Bib Fortuna on the sail barge though that Jabba blew up on?
yeah, I think so.
Then how'd he survive?
Escape pod.
Yeah,
He-
true.
He,
Jumped in the sand.
he bailed on Jabba. I mean, you I
Boba
don't
was
know.
presumed dead too.
My memory of that is everybody kind of bailed on oh god Jabba, thank you.
Jinx.
Everybody bailed on Jabba as soon as shit started to go down with
That's
Luke
true.
bouncing back up and getting his lightsaber,
Mhm.
because when Leia strangles him, Jabba's kind of the only one there in that
That's
in
true.
that area. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Bib saw the writing on the wall and bounced before
Screw this.
before his barge got exploded.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Where do you see, John? Where do you see this show actually going? Because all we got from it was that Boba going in and killing Bib Fortuna, and then just kind of cornily sitting on the throne as the camera pans and fades to black. So, like I said, I'm kind of at a
Cornerly,
loss. Like, I don't know.
Or he sat on the throne like a badass.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
just-
I mean, it was
dude, just
definitely a
sit down.
badass.
I think it's corny.
It
yeah.
was definitely corny. It's a super corny shot. It doesn't mean it wasn't good.
I loved his face expression.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know. I do think that obviously smuggling and smugglers are a huge part of the Star Wars universe and a hugely underdeveloped part of the Star Wars universe.
Mhm.
So they're always kind of referenced, but obviously the most notorious one being Han Solo. But there's obviously an entire world around there, and so them deciding to explore that, I'm all for it. I think it's an interesting, as long as we don't get bogged down in like the I don't know, the minutia of you're 6 containers short this time, and where's our
Yeah.
money, and some of that could be a little, but if they obviously people trying to escape. I mean, at this point, we're talking about the new republic being established, so maybe them trying to navigate staying away from the new republic as they do their smuggling. Maybe the pull of the old Imperials that are left, the Empire, the remnants of the Empire trying to get supplies, and Boba, trying to supply them on the low without the new republic finding out.
True.
I think there are areas that they could go to that would be pretty fun and exciting. That being said, and I'm sure we'll get into it, my best guesses on what they were going to do with Mandalorian Season 2 could not even begin to approach what they actually did with it. So
Yeah.
I have no clue.
I mean,
This is-
with kind of like what Rick was saying, with him having like seemingly having this. I mean, we say it's like some new code of honor that he has, but the fact of the matter is, we didn't know a goddamn thing about Boba Fett all these years. He
Yeah.
had like 6 lines of dialogue throughout the 2 movies he was in, and he was just there to look cool. So, like, I mean, it's new to us that like any form of context surrounding his character in general is just new to us at this point, really, because we just never knew too much about him, which leaves kind of like an open door for him. They got an empty plate to deal with, so I mean, which is good for them. But I could totally see them going in like the route of kind of like the new class of criminal kind of thing, vibe where he's going to come in there and like really straighten up the joint, like streamline thing, like still be like, do like underworld dealings kind of stuff, but like bring a whole like new, I don't know, like mindset to like what they're doing. Maybe make them like, maybe organize them better and like maybe not do like, I don't know, a bunch of just spice running. Maybe like
Spice.
do other stuff, because like who knows? Like we know Han Solo ran spice for Jabba, but like who knows if Bib Fortuna was still doing that? Who knows if that was still even really? I guess it was still
Is
like
spice a thing still?
It is because Poe Dameron used to be a spice runner as well.
True. That's very true.
So we knew the spice running has been a thing ever since the introduction of Star Wars, all up into the sequel. So it could be more of that, but
Take us to the spice mines of Kessel.
It's true. We'll just have to see. Maybe we'll see another Kessel run. Maybe we will. Who knows, though? I don't know. I just think that they're going to lean more into like Boba Fett maybe setting up his own kind of like thing. You know what I mean? Like just him taking over like the Jabba's palace concept, but really jokering it up. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna like when Joker comes in and takes over a gang, like that gang gets changed. Like, you know what I mean? Those dudes like
Jokers.
now it's like this is how things are gonna be now. And like so I think we're just gonna see more of Boba Fett kind of just build up and just amass a following, kind of like his own Mandalorian clan, if you will. I can see like something like that happening, but them not being just outright a bunch of just scummy dudes, since he does seem to be a character with like a strong moral code.
He could be like a guild leader.
Yeah, like that's what I'm thinking. I don't know, like I think in the end, what they're gonna do with this show is eventually just have whatever happens in it tie in some way to what's going to happen in Mandalorian season 3, what's going to happen in like the Ahsoka Tano show, and then the Rangers of the New Republic show. I think they're going to make all of them and introduce probably like Grand Admiral Thrawn, since he was name dropped in the Ahsoka episode.
Yeah.
I think that, I imagine, because it was confirmed they were already going to do a crossover event with all 4 of those shows, essentially, right? That whole Mandalorian universe, if the MCU, if you will. I gotta think that Grand Admiral Thrawn will end up being like the big bad there, like the Thanos of it all. Yeah. And I think so. Maybe what Boba is going to be setting up is like gonna be a first introduction of maybe Thrawn's hold on the Empire at this point. Maybe see where he's at and just kind of like leave like a low hanging fruit for the Mando series and everything like that. We're going to uncover more about Thrawn throughout the 4 shows, probably mostly in the Ahsoka show, since she's actually actively looking for him.
Yeah.
But I think in the end, like, since that's what they seem to be doing with Star Wars now, is making it more like the MCU as far as the storytelling goes, which is a good thing, because look how the sequels turned out, and look how the MCU turned out. So it's definitely a good way to go about things. It's worked. It's been proven to work, so it's definitely not a bad thing. Yeah. But I could just see him kind of doing that. Maybe the Boba Fett series overall being a lot like Mandalorian, where there's a lot of kind of just one-off episodes, but just have one small thing that ties into this big plot, like that's over, which I think is just going to be Thrawn. That's just kind of what I'm expecting out of it. So I don't know, though. None of that could happen, but that's just where I see it. Because otherwise, I'm just kind of drawing a blank of what you could even do with Boba Fett that would be kind of too different than what you're doing with Mandalorian. But at this point, which we're going to get into in a minute, I don't even know what they're going to. Well, I guess I do know what they're going to do. Because at first, I don't know. We'll get into the Mandalorian stuff in a minute. But I don't know. That's where I think is going to happen with Boba Fett. So what do you guys think? You got
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, we kind of collectively agreed, I think, that.
Yeah. I can't think of anything else. I just think they're going to do some stuff, introduce, a new class of criminal kind of storyline, and then like start teasing the Thrawn stuff is my guess.
Yeah.
Or Boba took over Jabba's empire to gain all his resources because he's going to go out and he's on a mission to exterminate all the Sarlacc pits in existence.
I'm sure that's on his list.
He's pissed about about being humiliated by that one Sarlacc pit, and so he's going to take revenge on all
the Sarlacc.
I honestly wouldn't doubt it. That might be his first plan of action, is like, let's get rid of all the Sarlaccs on Tatooine, and then we'll go from there. I could totally see it. So But that's it, guys. Let us know what you think. Where do you think they're going to go with this Boba Fett series? Because I mean, like I said, Boba Fett not having too much to do with the original trilogy kind of gives them a blank plate, a blank slate, I guess is the correct terminology here. So they can kind of do whatever it is they want to do. Because I mean, we've really learned the most about Boba Fett in the couple episodes he was in of Mandalorian. So, and there's just a lot that they could actually go like direction wise with that in some ways. So I think overall they're going to use it mostly probably to set up some some Grand Admiral Thrawn stuff, and then they're going to do the kind of the same thing with the other shows, just to have their big Avengers team up with it. But who knows? Whatever you guys think, let us know down in the comment section below. All right, so with that down and out of the way, we are going to move on to the Mandalorian Season 3 speculation. Because like I said, it's going to be following Boba Fett. So kind of like our most anticipated of 2021. These are TV series, so we didn't really include them on it. But these are definitely up there on the list of most anticipated forms of entertainment to be coming out in 2021 for sure. So we're going to get into what we think is going to be happening in Mandalorian Season 3. We're going to wrap up the show with that. So firstly, I think that this, with Mandalorian Season 3, I think it was set up pretty much in Mandalorian Season 2. I think that it's primarily at this point going to focus on retaking Mandalore, which is what I kind of assumed was going to happen. I was kind of hoping they would do in general when they introduced the Bo-Katan character. I always said that the show should just kind of focus more on the Mandalorian stuff and Mandalorian lore, because you could only do the Baby Yoda stuff in the back and forth between the Empire trying to get Baby Yoda or the remnants of the Empire or whatever. You can only do that for so long before it just becomes tired. And I mean, kind of like I said, they did end up just wrapping that up. He goes on his merry way with Luke Skywalker, and we're left with Din Djarin here with the Darksaber, and we got the Bo-Katan Darksaber drama going. So I just imagine that that's where it's going to go. I think we're going to see the retaking of Mandalore. But the question really is at this point, who even has Mandalore right now? Because the Empire's fallen. I mean, there's cells of the Empire out there.
They say that planet's cursed too. The Empire basically turned it into glass, I think, is what Boba Fett said.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Because during Clone Wars, it was sacked by Darth Maul, and then it had just previously, I forget what it was, but I think it was under some other control. I think maybe just from a rogue Mandalorian clan prior to Darth Maul coming in and taking over Mandalore.
Yeah.
And then, Bo-Katan ends up getting control back over Mandalore in Rebels. But then now where we're at here, she's lost control of it again and lost the Darksaber and somehow. And I don't know. Because that's another thing too. And I brought this up before. In the Rebels show, Sabine Wren gets the Darksaber and just gives it to Bo-Katan, and she just willingly takes it from her and says thanks and goes back to Mandalore and starts waving the Darksaber around. And
can't do that in the Mandalorian universe.
Well, what I think maybe they're going to expand on that more and kind of I think in the end they're just ignoring canon and they just want to a way to make something be more dramatic
and difficult.
Yeah, and just something for them to have to do in the show kind of thing. But what they could do to kind of non-retcon it is say that she did that and it didn't work. That's why she lost control of Mandalore. It took, because Gideon says the story is what matters. And so she didn't have that story about reclaiming the Dark Blade, since it was just given to her. Maybe it wasn't enough to unite the people of Mandalore, so that's why she lost control. So that's why now she needs to actually win it back through combat, the traditional way or whatever. Maybe they'll expand on it in that way. Maybe they're just straight retconning all of that stuff that happened in the Rebels show. Who knows? Yeah. But I think in the end, that's what we're going to be seeing in Mandalorian Season 3.
Do you think we see Mando as the new ruler of Mandalore?
I kind of speculated that before.
Instead of Bo-Katan.
I did speculate that before. I said we could be looking at our new leader of the Mandalorians, and we just don't know it yet. I definitely think
because if it's kind of like the Star Wars story. I mean, it's bounty hunter comes from nothing, works his way up the ladder, and next thing you know, he's like ruling the entire planet. Kind of like, Luke Skywalker, the farm boy thing.
It is a very tried and true trope.
It was the same thing with the sequel trilogy.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's definitely possible. I mean, the question really is like, are we going to see Baby Yoda in season 3?
Certainly
Are we going to see Luke
That's my biggest
Skywalker anymore?
question.
Like,
That's
I think we're definitely going to see him. Like, I think that whole line where he says, "I'll see you again," like I promise.
He's a man of his word. Like,
Well, I think that's more or less like Jon Favreau saying to us, like, he'll be back.
my question
Like,
is though,
that line was in there just so we know he's going to be back.
how's he going to find him? He didn't give him any information. He just took Baby Yoda and left. Didn't tell him where he's going. Didn't tell him how to contact him. He's just gone.
Yeah. Like,
I guess I'm trusting or believing the fact that Luke
Finds them.
will be sympathetic to what Baby Yoda feels for Din Djarin, and that he will find a way to find Din regardless of what. I don't know that Din will necessarily be able to find Luke, but
well, I mean, Grogu could just send out another Force beam,
Force message,
but directly to Mando.
True.
yeah. Sure.
I mean, if Luke Skywalker was able to hear him just randomly making a
Cooing
space
and
call,
rambling.
I'm sure that with Luke's training, he could probably just force talk to Mando.
It's true.
So who knows? I mean, I'm sure. I don't know if we'll see him again. I feel like we have to see him again just because people become just so accustomed to Grogu being a part of Mandalorian. And like, yeah, he just sells. He probably just makes them too much money for them to not bring back into the show. Because they could bring him back in, and now he's wearing like Jedi robes, and boom, you have a ton of new toys that you can sell. It'd be a huge missed opportunity for Lucasfilm to not bring him back, or at least have a scene of him like training with Luke or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a merchandising opportunity missed. You're leaving millions on the table.
It's true.
New toys. When does Mando get his Razor Crest back? I mean, his Razor Crest is obviously toast, and you're not getting that one back.
Be interesting.
Do you think he gets another one, or does he get another ship? I mean,
now,
right now
he's got an Imperial. He's got an Imperial cruiser right now.
Oh, he's got the light cruiser. But didn't he say that was that Bo-Katan could have that along with the Darksaber? I mean, the only thing he wanted was Grogu. So,
he did, but I mean, now he's got the Darksaber. Do you think Bo-Katan's actually got to listen to him at this point?
Yeah. But he doesn't want it. So
but like, dude, that's not how it works. A lot of people get the crown that don't want to wear it. That's normally your best.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Sure, but you don't have to take the ship that comes with the crown.
No, he can still get. But he's the one that's in need of a ship. You know what I mean? He might reconsider this and be like, you know what? My ship did just get blown up.
He does have an entire garage, theoretically, though, full of ships right now. Like there could have been ships on there that he could use.
Hey, I'm sure there is some light cruisers, like actually on because I think it was full of TIE fighters. You saw them on
the Imperial shuttle.
Yeah, so I mean, the Lambda cruiser they flew in there on still there. So I mean, they could just use that. Like, I'm sure he'll get his own ship. I don't know if it's going to be that same model, that the Razor Crest was, but at the same time, I think he's got options right now. Like he's got the Imperial light cruiser.
He's got stuff to trade.
Fighters. Yeah, he could easily get a new ship.
He's got
100%. So
and a bunch of dark trooper bodies.
Yeah, I think right now the biggest question is how and when we'll see Baby Yoda again. I think for a lot of people, because I think it's a given that they're going to do the retaking of Mandalore.
Yeah,
that's compelling TV in and of itself, and that's why I said when they first introduced Bo-Katan, I was like, I just want to watch that show. I just want to watch her going and try to retake Mandalore. That's a much cooler, in all honesty, as in a concept than a back and forth thing with Baby Yoda and the Empire going on and on and on and on and on. Like that would have. I said that would get tired, and I stick by that being tired. Like, I still love Baby Yoda and all that. Like, I mean, I bought that damn thing. Like,
it'll be interesting to see how far ahead in time they jump. Is this will the new season pick up with him and Bo-Katan on the bridge of the ship, and they're trying to decide after Luke has just left, and they're trying to decide where to go next, or does it pick up 5 years down the road, and they're in the middle of trying to take back Mandalore.
Yeah, there's definitely they could definitely do a huge time jump. I don't know. I think that's what we're gonna see though. You think we will see any more Luke Skywalker?
I certainly hope so.
I mean, I think everybody would hope so.
Not
I'm
like
with
as a major
Rick.
character.
I hope so. I don't know. It becomes tricky for them the more they have him in the show, because they weaved him so much into the sequels, and did such a terrible job of it. It's going to be tricky to fit him into this series and not eventually get him so caught up in it that you're left with the same narrative issues that, like you said with a lot of the stuff when we were talking earlier about Wonder Woman. Like, narratively, why in the world does Luke never mention Grogu in the sequel trilogy if there's this other powerful Yoda-esque being out there that has the same Jedi capabilities as him? Why is he not in any way referenced in the sequel trilogy?
Well,
So the more you wrap Luke up in this story, the more you have to figure out a way to navigate that.
True.
yeah, I think that's kind of contingent on how does Baby Yoda's, or Grogu's story end? Like, what if, he gets done, quote unquote, with his training with Luke, and then Luke sends him back to like his home planet, and is like, that's the next part of your training, is like to
That'd be an interesting show in
learn
itself.
more about your people and live amongst them and just do your own thing. Like,
Maybe he comes back with Mando, and now he's got a Jedi with him.
like, who knows, man? There's a lot of things they could do with it to not step on the toes of Luke, but then also, it's not really a Luke show, so I don't really see them like needing to bring Luke in. I could see them like cutting to Baby Yoda, like chilling and training with Luke, but then you don't even see Luke's face. You just know it's Luke because maybe you see a green lightsaber or something. Like, you know what I mean? Just so they don't have to do the CGI. I don't know. Like, I think more people are concerned about the Baby Yoda stuff than the Luke Skywalker stuff as far as seeing them again. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll ever have Baby Yoda old enough to where he talks in Yoda speak?
I
Or do you think
it depends on the time jump thing that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Like, how far are they going to advance the timeline? How long is the show going to be around?
And how old does Baby Yoda need to be in order for him to have the ability to speak the way Yoda did? I mean,
you'd think at 50 years
at age 400, or
Well, that's the thing too. It depends on how they do his aging thing. Because, like, I think does him not speaking right now have more to do with the trauma he went through at the Jedi Order, the Jedi Temple on Coruscant and everything? Because it's like when he had the conversation with Ahsoka, it was a conversation. Like, she could talk to him.
Yeah.
But like he's not audibly talking, and like that part of his memory is essentially blocked right now. So that's another question too. Are they going to expand on that anymore? Are we going to learn more about Order 66 time for him and like what actually happened? Like,
you got to think, dude, he's not even going to be like 100 years old by the time like Din Djarin's life is over.
Sure.
Just how I don't think humans necessarily live a super long time in the Star Wars universe. And I mean, he could still be a baby by the time Din's an old man, So.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. The sequel trilogy starts like 30 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, so who knows? Like, at that point, Baby Yoda is only 80 years old. So, and what does that mean for his? Like, we still don't really know what that means for his race. You know what I mean? Because we know that like Yoda at 400 is what he's supposed to be in like the New Republic times. He's a Jedi Knight right now when he's 400 years old. So Baby Yoda's 80. I mean, I don't know what that means. I don't think they thought the timeline thing through for his aging thing, because it doesn't make a lot of sense when you start thinking about it.
Well,
like, it was a cool sounding thing. He's 50 years old, but he's a baby. But then you're like,
with Baby Yoda's aging process, though, somebody did a comparison with Yoda being 900 when he died. In theory, he would have been like in his late 20s.
Yeah, but he's 800 years old. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, so, but that's the thing, is like they need to just explain and flush that out, because somehow still to this day, kind of like Boba Fett, Yoda and his species is just something that we just don't know about through all the Star Wars lore and canon and all legends, material, everything. Yoda's species is like probably the least known
It's
thing.
mysterious.
Yeah, it's just like it's not there. So I don't know. I think it's kind of thing where they're just making it up as they go along.
Yeah, but you got some good people behind the wheel now, so I'm sure it'll go.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely after what happened with Mando season 2, how they were able to bring that down to a very satisfying conclusion. I definitely have the utmost faith in Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, so I'm super hyped for season 3. I think it's going to mainly focus on the Mandalorian stuff, like retaking of Mandalore, and we'll probably learn how Thrawn is probably involved with controlling Mandalore right now, would be my guess,
There
and
you
that's how it's going to connect in with like Ahsoka's show, where she's searching for Thrawn. Like maybe they'll find some clues during Mando season 3 while they're retaking Mandalore and where she can find him, pass that information along. Maybe same kind of concept with the Rangers show. Maybe they discover some imperial traffic happening, and they learn more about Thrawn there, and then I think that's what's going to happen. I think Thrawn's going to be the Thanos for their first crossover event. Really, at this point, they definitely haven't introduced anybody else who could stack up.
No.
Like it's not going to happen. I mean, to be fair, Thrawn can't even fight Ahsoka by himself. I mean, he's not Force sensitive, so who knows?
The other thing that we haven't touched on is the fact that the Empire isn't done with Baby Yoda. While Din Djarin may have completed his mission to get him back to his people by passing him off to Luke, I don't think that the Empire, Moff Gideon was not going to just give him over to Mando, despite what he said. And so he's clearly not done with him. So there's still this element of the Empire, the remnants of the Empire out there that's hunting Baby Yoda. And so I don't know if that's the way that if somehow throughout the course of things, Din Djarin picks up on a new attempt to try and get him, and that's what brings him back into contact.
We still don't actually know what they wanted with him too.
Sure.
Because I mean, we're assuming it's because of his Force sensitivity, and because Gideon said whether he was being deceptive or not, that he's gotten everything he's needed from him. That being the case, if that is, what is he going to do with it now that they have what they need from him? Because we still don't know. Were they going to try to upload midi-chlorians into the Dark Troopers? And Gideon's still alive, so I don't know. There's definitely a lot of things that they could expand upon. I'd like to learn more about the Order 66 stuff with Baby Yoda, see what actually happened, see if a Jedi saved him, and then maybe a Jedi blocked that portion of his memory out. That'd be interesting. That's compelling enough. Because I mean, okay, kind of with that, I don't think they even say that's he went through that unless they're going to expand on it more. I mean, I feel like they set that up very specifically because they could have just breezed on through. They didn't have to say that. They didn't have to say he was there and he went through this already and that his memory's blocked. That's a very specific thing. So maybe we'll learn more about that. I'd like to learn more about that, but I don't know. I still think Thrawn's probably going to be your big bad, though. That's just where I don't, unless they started to introduce some Sith Lords or something. But I just don't know if that's really going to be something that they're going to do. Because I mean, I guess, no. Yeah, no, I don't even know who would be around right now, Sith Lord wise, which I guess kind of leaves them an opportunity to create new characters if they wanted to go a Sith route. So, but I don't know. I feel like you'd have to go Sith route for if Ahsoka's around because it's just kind of overkill, in a lot of ways. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. You guys got anything else that we're missing here? I think I pretty much covered what I'm expecting, where I'm expecting it to show or to go rather, and then some things I'd like to see. So
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw one. If we visit Luke training Baby Yoda, do you think we ever get to the point where we see a young Ben Solo show up at the training facility? Do we see other people he's training?
I don't see why we wouldn't. I think it would more or less, I don't know if it would necessarily be like a Ben Solo, because it's possible, because we know he's trying to establish a Jedi Order right now, and that's why it made sense for it to be Luke that heard Grogu's call, because he would be actively searching for Jedi right now because he's trying to rebuild the Jedi Order. So it all makes sense. So I mean, if we do get a Rocky training montage with Luke and Baby Yoda, maybe Baby Yoda has to carry Luke on his back, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like if we get something like that, I could totally see there being like other younglings there, but I just don't know if it'd be needed for the show. If it was like a Luke Skywalker show, then I'd be like, then yeah, or like a Jedi Academy show, then yeah. But since it'd be the Mando show and like they're really just there to tell Mando's story, if they cut back to that, they might just keep it to Luke and Grogu, or like I said, it might just be Grogu and you see a black hooded figure in the background and we know it's Luke kind of thing. I feel like that's the more likely thing. Because I would love to see a Luke Skywalker training the Jedi, like I'd like to see that whole, what made Luke turn into Hermit Luke in Last Jedi. I would like to see them actually explain that to me, because maybe it would make that character a little bit more compelling. Because that's the biggest flaw with like what they did with Luke in the sequel trilogy. Is like
they tried. They showed you Luke getting a vision of him becoming bad and thinking for a second about ending his life, and then him, Ben Solo, waking up. I mean, they showed you all that in flashbacks. It just was trash.
That is stupid. Yeah, that is garbage. If there was more that lead up to that, then that actually went into it, then I would like to see it. But yeah, you are right. I mean, if that's as
I just don't. Yeah. They cannot redeem. If Luke Skywalker was the type of character that would give up and go live by himself when things got bad, Cloud City would have been the end of the rebellion, because Luke would have never shown up. He would have been like, I don't know, things look bad. I'm just gonna stay here with Yoda and continue training. And
well, honestly, too, if you look at it, because I just watched Rise of Skywalker for the first time since I saw it in theaters, and even in there they try to retcon the shit, because Rey goes to do that. Rey goes to hide after she gets the vision of her being the new Sith Empress, right? But then she throws the lightsaber in the fire, and Luke's Force Ghost catches the damn thing. Yeah. The same lightsaber that he threw over his shoulder, and then he says, like, literally like a Jedi's, like, that's no way to treat a Jedi's weapon. And then, like, she's like, I'm just going to do what you did. I'm just going to hide out. And he was like, I was wrong. And it's just like, okay, you know what I mean? So it's like, even like, you're totally right, because Luke Skywalker wouldn't have done that, and they even try to like retcon it in like a way, the best way they kind of can in the Rise of Skywalker, by having him come back to just say that he was wrong about doing that. But it's like, yeah, like maybe you, I don't know.
I've taken us off topic, but yeah, I don't see. I mean, I would love to see a show of Luke training Jedi, and just as long as
that'd be great, yeah.
Just disregard that other crap that supposedly happened.
If they could I'm normally all for, like, if it's canon, it's canon, but like, dude, I'd be all for them saying that shit was a dream, like it wasn't real, like that was a Force vision that Ben Solo had that could happen.
They've already discarded tons of Star Wars continuity when they bought Lucas, so
it's true. I would like to see them though have Ben Solo wake up from a dream. Bring Adam Driver back just to have a dream sequence, and like that whole trilogy was a dream that Ben Solo had. And then like, so this little mini series picks up with him waking up and then going and talking to Luke and saying like, dude, I just had this crazy dream, Uncle Luke. And then that's it. And then we all get to move on. And you could do your whole new sequel trilogy and make it good.
Love it.
Like, I'm totally, in my head canon, that's exactly what happened. All that shit's a dream that Ben Solo is having right now. Like, none of it's real. We're going to leave it at that. So, but you guys got anything else you want to add? I think I've covered everything I think is going to happen.
Yeah,
so,
I think.
All right. So then let's sign off here. Rick, where can everybody find you online, good sir?
Find me on Instagram at Sir Rick Metz. That's RIKMETZ.
All right. John, where can everybody find you online?
We're at Nightwing_J over on the Twitters. Come tweet at me. Let's get a nice tweeter fight about Wonder Woman 84, and you can tell me why I'm wrong.
A twit war, yeah.
A twit.
Unconvincingly. A what?
A twit war.
Twit War. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can just follow me simply at Sir Rob Bifo on all platforms there. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, you can submit topics and questions to the show by emailing us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. Stay tuned, man. I'm going to do some more live streams. We got some more stuff. I mean, John and I are probably going to play some Squadron at some point. We keep talking about playing it again, but it hasn't happened yet.
I want to play it again.
Probably play some more. Dude, I really wish, man, I was telling John this before. I really wish EA Play or whatever, EA Pro and stuff, that they would sync your save data between platforms. Like, even if I have to rebuy the game on like PS5, because I have it on PC already because I have the EA Pro thing. So I get all these games for free, right? Not for free, but for the subscription price. But if I want to play it on my PS5, I gotta just start an entire new game. It's so stupid. Like, I would buy the game again if my save data would sync over, because then I could just seamlessly go play it on my PS5 and all this stuff. So EA, fix that, man. I know you're not the most consumer-friendly company out there, but goddamn, fix it, man. Fix it. But yeah, man, we got some stuff going on. Stay tuned for some live stream stuff. If you were around for the live stream this past Friday, you would know that I was looking to purchase my first custom lightsaber. Well, I did do that. So we got that coming. So I'll obviously do an unboxing and review of all that once I get that. So I'm very excited for that. Rick's got one coming.
I have to compare them, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll do some unboxing stuff when we get those in. So stay tuned. Look forward to that coming. But I think that pretty much covers it. Yep. So as always, guys, thanks again for watching. And for now, just take care.